Welcome to Coaching with Impact, the go-to podcast for female coaches ready to elevate their coaching business and make a lasting impact. We are back with another episode today. I am your host, FIFA Tran, and I own Faye Modern Creative, helping diverse female coaches shine with confidence through an elevated online presence using web design and holistic brand strategy. We have an awesome guest here today. Her name is Sabine. Please help me welcome Sabine. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, FIFA. I am super excited to be here as well.
I'm excited to dive into today's conversation about webinars and, seeing how you strategize on you being an author of 3 books, I believe, right? 3 books.
Yeah.
We're going to be diving into that and seeing how you've been leveraging that and really teaching people about webinars and having that build your business. But before we dive into anything, I would love to learn more about you. So please tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and in what ways you are building impact.
Okay, thank you, FIFA. Yeah, so I am a coach for female entrepreneurs who are ready to make impact in their business. And quite often I find especially female entrepreneurs who are spiritual, who are coaches, consultants, course creators, who really want to get their message out there, but they're really struggling to do so. And quite often they fall victim to social media, and it's just really a struggle for them to actually get heard and seen. So that's really what I do. And I'm very much in the space of automation and helping women actually put together their message and then put it out there so that it runs on autopilot. And that's one of the things that I'm really specializing in is putting webinars on evergreen. That means that it runs all the time with or without you actually there.
That is really, really cool because I've heard the whole concept of evergreen funnels. Some people may or may not like it. I know there's 2 different audiences there because some people are like, oh, it's not really live. So, there's that whole concept of it too, where people feel about it. But have you had any I guess, pushback about that idea?
I think this is a very valid pushback or concern. So, and I thought about this the same way when I first heard about it and then learned about it, and then I have actually spent all last year really honing in and learning with the best of the best. And it's really about creating an authentic piece. And when we think about webinars, it could be that we think it's a pitch festival. We just join a webinar and you're going to be sold to. And some of those webinars actually really, really bad because they don't teach anything. So my strategy is actually putting together a webinar that teaches people something, and they will definitely go away with some really good golden nuggets. That's number one. That's really, really important. And number 2, it's a really good way to actually create some, not only obviously value, but also authentic connections. Because when people are in your space for a longer period of time and they see you on a video, they see you presenting, and sharing a concept or sharing some value, then you are connecting much quicker, and then the buying process will start much quicker than if someone just sees your written content. And sometimes they don't always see your content on social media because obviously the algorithm. So this is a really, really good way to actually bring people into your space and let them consume a great piece of content where you then take them to a next step, to book a call or buy a program or whatever it may be. That's number 1. Number 2, okay, whether it's live, whether it's pre-recorded, and my clients are never allowed to actually pretend when it's pre-recorded that it is a live webinar. We don't pretend, so we're upfront and we just record it the way so that it's evergreen. It doesn't mention any dates, it doesn't mention any deadlines, and we don't want fake scarcity anyway, right? It's really about authenticity through and through. Now, there are obviously advantages and disadvantages, but the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, and the conversion rates are way better than doing a live webinar. And of course, people can still run a live webinar as long as they, there is a way to actually put webinars together in a way that actually convert. Quite often people are making the mistake that they're creating a webinar where they teach everything under the sun, and then people think, oh my gosh, I don't even need their program, I know everything now, I can do it myself. And this is the mistake. So it's got to be a blend of, of value, but also infused with psychology, with sales psychology, and really warming people up to you as to who you are, and so that you infuse your values into your conversation, and then also motivate them to actually take action at the end. Because it's all good and well, people watch a webinar, oh, that was interesting, I'll go away and do nothing with it. So there needs to be that pitch as well. So it's really specialized as to how you put it together and how to truly make it work. Now, and you can always run a webinar live, absolutely. But you have to remember that, you do all the hard work, promoting the webinar, getting people in, through the door, and then only 30%, maybe, that's a really good, actually, industry average, 30% of people who registered will come to the live. And maybe if you're lucky, you have another 10% max actually watching the replay. So it's very low numbers. And that means if only a lower percentage of people are coming through, that means that they're not the vast majority who registered and said they're interested are never going to watch your webinar, are never going to see what you've got to offer. Whilst if you run it evergreen, which means it's been hosted on software that can run it once a day, once every 15 minutes, people can choose the time slot when they want to watch it. So it's more flexible, because sometimes you might run a webinar, it's not really suitable for them. It's suitable for yourself, but not for them. Yeah. And so my show up rates, I just checked the other day, actually, it was over 60% live show ups, and 12% watched the replay. So we're talking over 73% as opposed to 35% when it's live.
Yeah.
So it's much, much better.
Okay, I see the whole concept now of an evergreen webinar. So it's always ongoing, and you're not selling from promoting from a place of like it's live when it's not.
No, you shouldn't.
That's what I don't like either.
Exactly. And I guess the big advantage is that you don't have to be there live all the time and repeat it over and over and over again. You just do it once, and that actually really suits people who aren't the type who want to do exhausting launches or showing up every week because they need clients. So they just have it run for them. They optimize it once. We put all the tech together, all the landing pages, and optimize the entire step-by-step process until they actually get on a phone with a client. I mean, it works very well for high ticket offers. It can work for things like self-study as well, but I wouldn't recommend to run a webinar with something that's below $500, maybe $1,000, that's the kind of range. Then you could send someone to a sales page right after without actually getting on a call. But for higher tickets, then the call to action is get on a call, and they already get pre-warmed up leads because they already seen them presenting and talking, and they know already what the program is all about. They know they're already ready to buy. They are the people who have a budget, because again, straight after the webinar, there is another process that people would follow and go through a filtering process, and you will only get people through who are ready to buy, who have the funds as well, and who already know what you do. So it's going to be a very easy conversation. It's not going to be a hard sales call either, because I don't like that myself.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want my clients having to convince anyone, or, and they just get on a call really relaxed and have much higher conversion rates through that as well.
I love that tip about it being getting on a call with you as opposed to just booking it right away. Because you're really right about that is high ticket means you need to qualify them too by getting on these calls, is really like getting to know them, and they get to know you to make sure that you're the right investment and the go-to person that they want to work with. And I know you mentioned like you help to build out the funnels, like building out the tech and everything. What are your go-to platforms for marketing your webinars, or like creating these webinars in the first place, and why would you recommend them?
Yeah, so there are obviously toolkits out there that there are different webinar hosting platforms, like Webinar, Webinar Jam, and things like that. But they're quite expensive. So I'm actually using something different, which is a bit of my secret sauce, because I do a lot of research. I work with a lot of tech, and then I can actually bring the least expensive tech together for people, because I know you could use things like Kajabi and
Mm.
EverWebinar. That's like something like $50 a month, I think, or $60 a month nowadays. Then you need Kajabi or Kartra or ClickFunnels in addition to have hosting your pages there. So you're talking like $150, $200 straight away. But I got my ways where my clients actually pay far, far less. So
Mm.
yeah, a bit of a trade secret.
Understandable, but I know, yeah, I totally understand you. There's so many different tools out there, but that's, you know what's right for your clients, you know what to recommend them, and there are so many better alternatives out there as opposed to the ones that you hear all the time, like
Yes.
Kartra and Kajabi, like you mentioned. The first thing people think usually is Kajabi. That's like the number one right now. All they know of most of the time is Kajabi, at least from what I've been observing from my side anyway, and
Yeah.
knowing people that
The
I know.
Yes, and obviously you got to look at each webinar platform, because it has to simulate a live environment. It has
Yeah,
to be conducive, so you cannot pause or skip or anything like this. So it's got to be a very specific platform. And some of the big ones, they say they can do webinars, but it's not really the way I teach it and the way it actually works and converts optimally. So there's definitely different platforms that need to be connected. But you know what? We've got a done for you service. We actually do everything. It's just what we do is we start off with the client. We ask them, what's your target market? We even help with the target market, with the offer and the messaging, because otherwise we can't put a webinar together. Because if that doesn't work, if that's not right, I'm not going to put a webinar together for anyone, because I want all of this to work, because it can be a very expensive process and it takes a lot of time and energy to put it
yeah.
together. And then we take all the information, and then we build out the entire funnel. We make all the connections so that all the
Mhm.
emails are being built out, because there's going to be obviously reminder emails in the background, and nurture emails, replay emails, and the calendar when someone books an appointment. Then there is also a form where people have to qualify before they actually can book an appointment. And then
Mhm.
also optimizing the process of people actually showing up, because a lot of people could book a call, and this is the last hurdle where people losing money because people are not coming to the call. So we have to make sure that the show up rate is high there as well.
I see. I hear you. Okay, so what what kind of mistakes do you often see coaches making when they set up their evergreen webinar funnels, and how can they avoid them?
So, well, firstly, they think they can just get away with doing a webinar on Zoom. They record it on Zoom, they host it
Mhm.
on YouTube somewhere, and then they just send it out to people. I mean, that's not really an evergreen webinar. That's
Yeah.
just some recording where people can just, well, they might not want to watch it. Another mistake I see as well is the traffic that they get to the webinar. So the people who they're actually inviting to the webinar and where they find them. YouTube is a really great place to actually get people
Mm.
from, because people are already searching for certain things, and you can intercept that search, right? And you can put
That's
your
true.
webinar and your opt-in for your webinar, so people can register into your
Mhm.
webinar by watching your competitor's video. And quite often they just sit there. Let's look at it. Look, when you go on YouTube, how much time do you usually spend on YouTube when you are searching for a how-to video? You might spend 15 minutes, half an hour, right? It's
That's
not
true.
like a quick. You're not like on Instagram watching a quick 1 minute reel or scrolling on Facebook whilst you're
Mhm.
waiting for the bus. So you really got to think about where do you get your people from in order for them to then consume a longer piece of content and to really grab them and bring them into your world and immerse themselves into what you've got to offer. Because we're all competing for audience, for attention. There's so much distraction out there. And so YouTube is a really good way to get people from into your web.
You use YouTube and Facebook as your primary platforms, right?
Mhm.
So I guess that there's, I remember reading your bio where you also said that you've also invested in ads in these platforms as well. Do you recommend coaches invest in ads right away to start driving traffic to their webinars, even if it's their first time doing it? Or do you think they should hire someone to do it for them?
Well, that's a really good question. So there's a couple of things here. I actually wanted to mention this before because I have this client who is a love and relationship coach, and she put together this webinar with me, and she said, okay, I can run YouTube ads now. I said, okay, let's test it first because I would hate for you to actually lose money. And I want to know whether your webinar actually converts from what we've put together. Okay. And I'm not a love and relationship coach, so I had to kind of piecemeal it together and think, okay, what kind of problems would I have? What would actually make me press that button and go for it and things like that. Anyway, she tested it with 3 people, and out of the 3 was sort of some fellow coaches that she knew. Out of the 3, I think only 2 people actually watched the webinar all the way through, and 1 person bought straight away.
Oh, wow.
Out of 2 people watching, and I'm like, okay, hooray, this worked.
Wow.
And then we got the feedback, obviously, and then I said, look, just have some more people watch it, make sure, let's confirm. Because some people think they have to run a webinar many times over live before they can automate it and put it on evergreen. But unfortunately, it's the other way around. People don't realize that when they put it on evergreen, they have the opportunity for more people to see it. And yes, if you like to drive traffic organically through Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, that's absolutely possible because it's just a link where people opt in and then watch that webinar.
Yeah.
And if you can get feedback from that, and it's going to do the heavy lifting for you. If you think about it, it just runs. You don't have to be there live over and over again. And the great thing is it's consistent. It's always the same message because sometimes we could mess up. We could change a few slides here and there, and then we don't even know whether it is working or not because we have to think about optimizing it and looking at data as to how many people are watching it, how many people are clicking through to calls, where are they dropping off. The webinar software can actually measure all of this stuff, whilst you wouldn't even be able to do it when you're doing it live. I mean, it's going to be harder, right? Because you're distracted looking at, what's going on in the webinar room and so on. So, yeah, I mean, by all means, we can run ads, absolutely. But you need to know what you're doing. Definitely YouTube is a bit of a more untapped platform where it's definitely is going to be harder. You do it yourself because there's quite a bit of things that you need to set up. You need to set up certain things like pixels, for example, so that we can actually target certain people and do on Google because it's together, right? Google and YouTube is one. So you got to know how to do Google ads as well because it's in the same platform. So not a lot of people actually really understand Google ads and how to do the keywords research so that we can get to the right people. So yeah, I mean, I definitely would say get some help. The same with Facebook. If you don't know what you're doing, you could just burn a lot of money. There has to be a strategy, especially on Facebook. I said it's more like a scrolling kind of platform where you probably want to go in with not directly to a webinar. Maybe you want to have a lead form and have a lead magnet first and foremost. And then on the thank you page, you could have a webinar and say, hey, thank you so much for downloading that lead magnet, whatever checklist, whatever it may have been. Obviously has to connect with the webinar because then you can say, and by the way, I've put together a free training that shows you, a bit more in depth as to how to use lead magnet or the 3 steps to whatever it may be, right? So you could have a little video there that goes into the webinar registration because people need to be warmed up first in different ways on different platforms in a different way as well.
Especially when somebody is first starting off, they don't really know exactly where to even begin when it comes to starting a webinar. I guess the one thing that they could start by doing is just like you said, do that lead magnet and then kind of just like funnel them into a webinar where they get to know you, see how you talk and how you instruct and all that stuff. So I guess that's like the first thing that you could do like on your own before you decide to hire somebody else to really get deeper into the weeds and really find better ways to convert and then look into ads later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Test it by all means. And
Mhm.
this is an option. When we built the webinar, you could have the webinar funnel there, all the tech, everything set up, and you just drive organic strategies. And again, I've got this sorted in my program as well. I've got 26 organic visibility strategies that I actually teach my clients when they come into the webinar programs.
Okay, incredible. So being an author, like what impact did your books have on your business and the opportunities available to you? Did it help you build authority? Like, how did it change your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's 3 books. I think it was pretty much more like a passion project of mine. So there's one that I did with female entrepreneurs rise in pursuit of empowerment. Another one was more like a joyful book, recipes for abundance. And then there was a third one that I wrote with others also through the pandemic. So there's 75 stories in there. And it's just about connecting with other people and hearing their stories. I just really wanted to create that platform and hear, where they're coming from, what they've endured in their lives. But yeah, what happened? I mean, we were best-selling authors now, all of us, on Amazon. We had big launches. I'm pretty much also live launches. So I help other authors now launch as well because they've seen me launch, they've seen me get onto the bestseller list, and obviously I've got my ways of doing mass sort of bigger launches, with bigger teams and that kind of thing. So absolutely, it's given me some great visibility. So much so that I've even been asked to come and speak in big organizations. For example, Dell, the technology company, they invited me to come and speak in front of their women leaders. A couple of other companies connected with me, and I got a couple of contracts through that as well. So you never know where these things go, right? It didn't even occur to me, but they just loved the idea of empowerment. And I also wrote a little bit about leadership in there because I interviewed some people that obviously, especially through the pandemic, worked through the pandemic and how they had to handle certain situations, like for example, hospitality. There's a story in there of a HR leader, how they dealt with the staff and how they had to close the hotel and things like that. So yeah, really really interesting. So yeah, definitely was worth writing them books. And now they're lead magnets as well for me. So they serve as just value magnets. I just send them out to clients as well. I've got a batch at home, and also online. I have people opt in for them. We've created also some beautiful resources around the book, so empowerment resources, meditations, in sort of lots. Most of the contributors in the book put their online resources actually as part of a portal where people, when they do go to the book page, they can download as well.
Wow. So it's really given you many opportunities, writing these books and also helping you create a community as well of a supportive network of people around you. So that has really pretty much changed your business. As soon as you started to do this type of work and creating these books and resources. So there's many different ways that you use this for your clients as well and for all other ways to build your business. So I love that. We spoke so much about webinar, but what would you say as a final note is the number one tip that you can share on how the audience can build their lasting impact?
It's all about you connecting with your audience in the most authentic way. Don't look at what others are doing or trying to be, like others, because I know we can all be in this space where we compare each other,
Yeah.
with other coaches. But it's really about finding your own authentic voice and your passion, and stick with that, and don't swap and change too much, because that's the other thing. If you can't optimize, you can't scale, you can't grow if you keep on swapping and changing and adding more and more programs, because it's going to get so complex. You're going to feel overwhelmed. For me, it's all about helping to simplify and to put some of the heavy lifting on autopilot, because for me, things like webinars and even social media, all the content, I have a whole sort of content system that I teach my clients, because that's like, it's hard, because every
Yeah.
day you gotta show up, send an email, do this and the other, and all we want to do really is doing our best work. It's coaching, consulting, course creation, healing, therapy. That's what we do. We don't really should be doing 80% of marketing. And I think it's time to actually, put that on autopilot, and just do what we love doing. And of course, if we infuse it, every day we just infuse that. Of course, we still need to show up, but we do it with love, and rather than thinking it's such a burden.
Great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I totally feel it, where burnout can creep up, especially when you you have to show up, otherwise your business won't run and you won't be generating leads. So yeah,
And
webinars really
I
that.
would say, still
Yeah.
show up. Do show up. And I know it's uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
you know what? If it was easy, then most people would make it. Everyone would be a millionaire. But if you are willing to do the things that 99% of other people are not willing to do, that's when you shine. That's when you rise. Because so many entrepreneurs give up.
Mhm.
So many new businesses, are closing down within the first year. And
Yeah.
and so the question is, do you want to be part of those 99% of businesses, or maybe it's 96%, something like that? Or do you really truly want to step into the unknown and into the uncomfortable and do some of these things?
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I'd really love to hear more about, the program that you've been talking to us about throughout this
Mhm.
episode. But what is the exciting thing that you are working on or would like to share more about to the audience?
Yeah, so I'm going to invite you back to my podcast. I'm part of the Divas That Care podcast, which is super cool. So I'll just probably leave a link to that podcast as well. And then I have a whole resource page that has different things, because different people need different things, and they want to explore different ideas. So I've got a whole resource page. Of course, there is a webinar planner there, and it leads to my webinar. You can have a look what the funnel looks like. There's a course creation planner on that page. Sometimes we just want to create sales very quickly. So this works really, really well if you already have an email list. So I've put together a whole 7-day campaign, including all the scripts. You can download that and just implement it in your business. So yeah, just explore the resource page. And I've just noticed, maybe if anyone wants to buy the books or get the also the resources from the books, I'll add a link on there as well. So it's all in one place, and then people could just choose what they would like.
Incredible. Well, I appreciate your time. You've shared so much advice today. I mean, I don't do webinars, but now I want to, because I easily get burnt out. So I'm like, I kind of, yeah, I mean, you've sold me on the idea, and it's something that I myself have to look into now. So thank you for that.
Brilliant.
And yeah, thank you for your time today. Make sure to check out her podcast, check out all the amazing resources that she has on her page, and make sure to follow her.
On Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram. Just shoot me a message. I mean, seriously, you can just hop on a call with me. I don't have a massive team. I'm not one of these kind of celebrity coaches that are sitting up on their ivory towers. So you can actually connect with me directly. We can have a conversation. If you think webinars could be a great idea, then obviously we can always have a conversation, and I can do a bit of a business audit with you.
Perfect. Is it on? It's on Instagram that you're mainly.
Yeah, so I'm on Sabine Matharu on Instagram, on Facebook, just under my name.
Mhm.
I do have a free Facebook group as well. It's called the Limitless Coach Success Community.
Perfect. So thank you for tuning in to today's podcast episode. I appreciate your time. Everything, I mean, we're going to have so many different episodes with other subject matter experts and experienced coaches coming onto this podcast so that you can listen to and really build your impact and grow your coaching business. So thank you, Sabine, once again. And
Yeah,
I hope
I
you
enjoyed it.
continue. Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you so much. I'm very excited about your podcast and following it as well.